Okay, let's make some Syriac linked data. First thing we need to do is create a new project in Google Refine. We're going to go find our Excel file, which is right here. I just downloaded this from Google, and we say next, and it's got our files. We're going to give this some kind of SRP linked data try 1, and we don't need to keep any blank rows, so we'll create the project. Here are our files. So the first thing we need to do is create a single column that's got a string that combines everything in the city, library, collection, and shelf mark fields into a single field. This is going to be the hardest thing we do, and we'll just have to bear with it. So here's how we go. We say edit column, add a column based on this column, and the new column is going to be MS name. And here we need to have a complex expression in the Google Refine expression language that goes out and looks at not only the city column, but the library, collection, shelf marks column. I'm going to cheat because I already tested this and I've written it, and I'm just going to paste it in so we can save time. Basically what we have to do is we have to test and see if the value is null. If it is, we just write an empty string. If it's not, we copy the value and we add a string on the end. And then we go on and see if there's another cell in this collection, the library cell, if it's got anything. If it doesn't have anything in it, if it's null, we write a blank string. But if it does have a value, we write that value out and then we add a space, and so on and so forth through the collection and the shelf mark information. To make sure we don't end up with any loose spaces, we're going to use the trim function around all of this. So we get a nice clean string, and these are examples of what you're going to get based on that information. So we'll click OK. It's going to create that field. We should be able to find MS name right here. So we're going to use that in our RDF. The next thing we have to do is, with the RDF extension, we have to edit our RDF skeleton. This is essentially the instructions for how we create RDF. The first thing we want to do is get rid of this base URI. We want all the URIs we're creating to be absolute and in their own namespace on the web. So we'll start with them. The second thing we have to do is we have to make sure that all the schemas we need are in here, and I don't see a prefix we need. We need the schema.org prefix, so we'll say add prefix, it's schema, and it's going to suggest that what we're trying to use is schema.org, and they're right, we are. So we're going to click OK. Now it knows something about the schema thing. The first thing we need now is a root URI. This is going to be our VIAF authors, so we're going to click in here and it's going to give a list of all the columns in Google Refine. We want the Syriac VIAF URL. We want it treated as a URI, and we click OK. Now we want to assert that those are persons, so we'll add an RDF type. We're going to start by saying schema : person, because we know that's the term in schema.org. We're going to select that, and now we want also, just because we're verbose, to say this is a FOF person. Google Refine RDF extension knows about FOF, so we'll add that in there. If you want to see what you're going to get so far, this is it right here. You're going to get a VIAF ID is a schema person and a FOF person for each VIAF ID in our list. Go back to the skeleton and hook up the rest of the stuff. We now want to say that this person has a name, so we'll go in here and we'll say schema name. We'll add that in, and then we want to say the name is this, and we have a text. We can even language tag it. I think all of our VIAF author names are effectively in English the way they're in here. We'll assume that they are for now. And you can again do your preview. You see you're going to get that this VIAF ID defines a person whose name is Ephraim the Syrian, and that string is an English language string. Now that we've got the names, we want to say that they're the author of a manuscript item, schema author. And where do we get that from? Well, this is where our URL for the manuscript comes in, and we want that treated as a URI. So we're going to click OK, and we can view the results there. This is where our schema author, and our IDs are going to come in. Now what we'd like to be able to do is also say a little bit about those things. We're going to give them an RDF type for the sake of argument of schema web page, since they really are web pages. And then we're going to give them names. We add a property schema name, and that name is going to come from that manuscript name field that we created out of the various collection information. So we can start to see our preview here as this stuff starts to come together. You get a VIF ID, some things are asserted, then we get some information about that particular work, and eventually they're going to start saying that they're authored by various people. Alright, so now that we've got that stuff in there, let's do something with our shelf mark and our work title. Let's add some more properties. Here we're going to use RDFS label, a very generic term, to put in our shelf mark, and that's text as well. And we're going to use RDFS label again for now to indicate also the title of the work that's involved here. Since we don't quite know what else to do that, we'll treat that as text again. And then finally, we're going to add one more property out of the schema.org space, and that is schema genre. This is something we can do with a web page or another creative work, and this is just text, and we can here use a constant value, and we're going to say that the genre is a manuscript. We're going to treat that as text, which is in English. We now have a skeleton that I think is going to produce all the RDF we want. So we click OK, that's saved, and it's as simple as saying export RDF as turtle, and here's our turtle, which I'm going to send to you guys and see what you think.